An almost cloudless sky on a Floridian summer day is something not seen too often in early July. I guess that's just another thing that would make today such a great outing. Hello again, rail fans, and welcome back to the hot, humid, but hometown Florida rails. It's July 13th, 2022, and we're driving south after getting off I-4 en route to Valrico Junction. Today I'm meeting with my friend Joshua Evans to go around the Mulberry area and check out some cool scenes of the Bone Valley. Hearing B339 departing Rockport at about 8:25 a.m., we decide to jump off at Valrico for the catch.
I love this curve. This curve is a spot to get in the mornings when the sun's lined on.
After snaking through the traffic lights, construction zones, and drivers that, we'll just say, weren't in a hurry today, we'd make it to Valrico just before 9 a.m. and barely in front of 339. Joshua would be waiting at Miller Road, a wonderful spot to catch trains entering the Bone Valley in the morning. The broken sunlight shining through the trees of the suburbs of Brandon would act as a nice backdrop for our train that was now peeking his nose around the corner. Of interest on this empty phosphate drag would be the power. An old GE-8 would be doing the honors this morning, leading a clean ES44AC, recently painted into CSX's YN3 website scheme. CSX 783 would be trailing on this B339, but honestly I'd been happy if either of these engines led. I think the YN3.com scheme is a really nice variant of the blue and yellow, especially while they're still clean. The website logo on the bottom is a professional edition, almost feeling more authenticated, although other railroads have pioneered this idea before. While B339 would continue south and east towards Agrock, we'd head east and north towards Plant City. It was here in Valrico that we'd make the decision to abandon the Bone Valley plans and see what we could find along the S and A lines. Pulling up to Plant City, we see a train rounding the connection track transferring from S to A line. This would be an extremely late M453. In fact, this was the previous day's 453. Nothing special as far as power goes, but it's still a moving train and a very loud one. Okay, let's move on, before my ears fall off. Looking north on the S line, the signal at Sandler Junction lights up with an approach medium. The second 453 is passed. The dispatcher has lined a train to cross the diamond and switch over to the Plant City siding to switch an industry just north of town. The train doing this move would be L77913. The old 0709 would be waiting at Lake Wales Junction, and the moment he got a signal, he revved up his rebuilt Jeep locomotive and rounded the curve. Plant City would be hopping this morning, as the dispatcher had another train lined across the diamond immediately after 779's crossing. A main reason we switched plans from the Bone Valley to S-Line was partially because of this southbound. A green signal on the interlocking signal would affirm our hopes. A southbound at this time could only mean something as needed or extremely late. It would be the latter option, as M44112 would soon be calling out the signals of Plant City sighting.
1 clear, Plant City Diamond Track 1 southbound.
In moments, 158 cars of Tampa merchandise would round the corner at Sandler Junction and passes here at Reynolds Street. The morning sun would be perfect as 441 passed, but with the lighting came the heat, and it would be broiling today with temperatures in the high 90s. These Tropicana reefers would be empty, but I can only imagine how hard the loaded ones have to work to keep the fresh orange juice ice cold. M441 is a train I've been wanting to see for months. Since late 2021, CSX has been running this train on an unpredictable schedule, arriving in Tampa anywhere between midnight and noon. 441 left Waycross just after 10 p.m. the night before, but after having to wait on some northbounds, switch Baldwin Yard, and travel down the Florida Peninsula, he was strictly in daylight now. Something Joshua noticed was the surprising amount of Tropicana-bound cars that were in this consist. I counted 42 Trops and Cryotrans combined from my videos, but I didn't even film the entire mixed freight section. Looks like with the summer heat comes the cravings for ice-cold orange juice, but that's just an uneducated guess. This 441 would make for a nice catch this morning. It's not all the time that Plant City gets mid-morning trains like these. After 6 minutes, 441 would be through Plant City en route for Tampa. Things here at the Diamond would only get better, however, as walking back to the platform we saw this. L780, the old 0710, would be waiting for 441's crossing at a signal named Plant City Holdout. Today would be living up to its name, holding a train out of Plant City so another could pass. The woman at the dispatcher's desk in Jacksonville would be on her game today, as in another couple minutes, L780 would be rolling through. This train would speed up to about 45 miles per hour in a matter of a mile and a half. Tesla better look out, because I found that these EMD rebuilds have an incredible 0 to 60 time.
So 78013 clears Act 2001 permission to open up on the main line between South Winston and Plant City Holdout, south, and wait for a signal to pass Cherry. Over.
In a matter of seconds, L780 is over the Diamond and capping off one of the best railfanning time slots in my life here in Plant City. 4 trains in just over 30 minutes. Now that's my kind of railfanning. We'd retired to the platform after this, listening for anything in the vicinity. Josh and I knew that there was a southbound ethanol train approaching Wildwood at the moment, and planned to catch it here until we heard L779 call the dispatcher for an EC1.
Hi, EC1 number 73830, 71322. Okay, so that's 82105. 0779, 13 is 6556 via Goose, circle line 1A. Operate main track, both directions. NAS Plant City Holdout, main, the milepost SVA 26.0, main. Circle line 11, French on the switch, SVA 25.5.
Alright, good copy, 1031 ENL.
This EC1 would pique our interest, and Joshua would immediately start whipping out locations to shoot at. We decide on the APP approach signal just a couple miles south of the Diamond. An amber approach signal is located along the Plant City sub. This signal has been lit for decades, telling trains approaching Plant City to prepare to enter signal territory. That's a mouthful. Where a red signal aspect might be. Phosphate shuttles to Central used to pass here, along with trains that needed to access the Coronet mine. Now the line sees 2 to 3 movements a week from L779, just to switch a couple of industries along this portion. The road would be closed due to construction, so we framed up our shots in the road and patiently waited for 779's passing. In a few minutes, 779 would cross the diamond, and a few more minutes, his headlight would round the curve. Everything about this shot would be perfect. The short hood forward Jeep, the lighting, the closed road, and of course the signal. The only imperfection you'll notice is a jolt as soon as the train passes. I guess the pavement here was a little bit too high on the crossing, and when 779 struck it, it shook everything. Josh and I would drive back to the Diamond after 779 to see a green signal for the ethanol train. He'd been in the picture all morning and was finally here. After passing Folkestone a quarter after 5 a.m., he'd be rolling over the Diamonds at exactly 11:30. The heat was almost unbearable now, so we found a good spot under a tree to wait out this B631.
631, clear south, Junction cleared. Plant City, interlock,
Another thing to note would be the absence of Amtrak 91. 91 would be over 14 hours late today, making the dispatcher's job easy, as trains didn't have to worry about waiting for 91's crossing. At this time, normally they probably would have held B631 for 91, but all was clear today. I realized halfway through this train that 631 is one of the most valuable trains on the system right now. 100 loads of pure ethanol heading for Tampa and the gasoline terminals there. An N-Train Distributed Power Unit, or DPU, would be pushing the sky, again another CSX Tier 4 GE. After this, we'd head out for lunch to eat and get out of the sun. At this point, the heat was almost too much to handle, but we stuck it out for one last train. Hearing of a B202 coming south with some foreign power, we'd head to Lakeland for the catch. Winston Yard would be an absolute dumpster fire today, however. 2 M452s would be tying up the number 1 main and the BV main in the yard, with the M453 also switching. L766 would be building his 1-mile train, not to take to the CH Spur, but to Sebring today. With 3 trains tying up the yard, there was only so much room to fill, and yard switchers were still at work. So after waiting in the sun for about an hour at South Lakeland, we'd hear our B202 stop at Lakeland Junction. A little disappointing as we wanted to see him moving, but it was still nice to see. The BNSF motor up front doing the pulling would also be a bonus. Here at Lakeland Junction, with BNSF 8326 idling next to us, we'd end our day. The heat was unbearable, and we'd already been out for about 5 hours. So just after 2 p.m., we'd head home. A massive thanks to my friend Joshua for spending the day with us. It was definitely worth the sweat and time, and I really hope we can do it again. But until we meet again along these Central Florida rails, this is Christian from Multicolor Films. End of transmission.